The films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe continue to be the most popular blockbusters year after year. But did you know that each film has to go through a very different production process in order to complete the film? Each movie in the MCU has a very different development, which leads to some have some impressive never-done-before film techniques, while others have some hilariously wacky moments. So that's why in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some behind-the-scenes moments from popular MCU movies. First, we have the strange effects on Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is one of the craziest film rides in the MCU with its crazy visuals and its dimension-defying magic. But have you ever wondered how they pull it off? Well, let's take a look. Obviously, this was one of the more difficult films to film in the MCU due to the film requiring a great deal of trippy shots like the mirror dimension and the dark dimension. But the film turned out great, especially in terms of its visual effects. But if you take a look at the behind-the-scenes footage of the making of Doctor Strange, you will see that the set had a great deal of empty space that had to be filled with green screen so that the animators could and VFX crew could fill it in with whatever they needed it to be for the actual shot. In addition to the empty space, there were also a great deal of tricks used in the filming to make sure the audience felt immersed in the magic. For example, when Doctor Strange gets knocked out of his physical body and into his astral form, that is not CGI. Well, not entirely anyway. The VFX team uses a technique known as backlighting, which makes the back of the shot brighter than the front, so the real-world portion of the screen looks darker than the astral form of Doctor Strange due to him being submerged in backlight. So during those scenes, Benedict Cumberbatch is actually in the shot, just backlit and then touched up in post-production. Pretty cool, right? But it only gets crazier, because when Doctor Strange is stepping through a portal to enter a hospital in America, the portal is not CGI. It is actually a large hula hoop-like structure with lights circling it like the portals Doctor Strange uses. The light is sped up in post-production and given its iconic burning sound, but it's a real item that Benedict Cumberbatch has to step through. Another cool trick used in the filming of this film was anytime a character was in the mirror dimension, they would be placed in a room that was essentially green screen from wall to ceiling. Then they were placed on a platform that could be raised or lowered. Then the actor would do their scene on the platform they were on, and it would move according to the scene direction, and then the entire scene would be placed together using CGI in the VFF lab. Crazy, right? For all those mirror dimension scenes, the actors are performing on real moving platforms, which I could not imagine is easy. These actors and crew had to work really hard to pull this movie off, but I think it was all worth it. Doctor Strange is a pretty cool entry into the MCU if you ask me. Next, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 should be called Volume Blue. For those of you who do not get the reference, let me explain. Calling it Volume Blue would be hilarious because since the movie takes place primarily in space or on fictional planets, the film is largely on blue screens so they can work the CGI. So get it? Volume Blue instead of Volume 2? Yes, you can steal that one and use it as your own. I give you permission. Anyway, the CGI work in this film is quite extraordinary, and it starts right at the start of the film. The opening shot of the movie sees Kurt Russell's ego driving a car with Peter Quill's mom, but he is de-aged to look younger because this shot is in the past. Kurt Russell looks 30 in the movie when he is in fact in his 70s now, but the CGI really doesn't look fake, and that's because it is more of a blending technique than an animation technique. They used a 30-year-old stand-in to do the scene as well as using Kurt Russell, and then blending the scenes together so that Kurt Russell would look 30. Pretty neat, right? But trust me, this film is about 95% CGI, so there are other behind-the-scenes facts about this film that will blow your mind. Have you ever wondered how the actors interacted with a character that is fully CGI, like Rocket Raccoon or Baby Groot? Well, the answer might be funnier than you think. In terms of Baby Groot, the production crew used a doll that looked like Baby Groot, so the actors would know where to look when they had to interact with the tree-like character. But you're going to get a laugh out of how the characters interact with Rocket Raccoon, played by Bradley Cooper. Cooper would record his lines in a booth, and his facial expressions would be recorded and used for for Rocket for the film, and how did his body get recorded? Well, they made a real person, usually Sean Gunn, the brother of the director James Gunn, put on a green screen suit and would act like a raccoon on his knees. Anytime somebody had to touch Rocket in the film, they had to touch Sean Gunn in real life to make sure they got the shot. I'm sure that must have been incredibly awkward, but it was all worth it to make a movie like this. Up next, Captain America Civil War was more complicated than you thought. Captain America Civil War is one of the staple films in the MCU, but if you were to think about the events of the film, it may stump you to think of the shots that would have been complicated in terms of behind-the-scenes work. But there were a ton of them. For starters, the beginning of the film sees Captain America, Falcon, Scarlet Witch, and Black Widow track down and stop Crossbones. In the shot, Captain America gets blown out of a window, then onto a ledge, then a truck, and then the ground. But did you know that the production team actually had to custom build the ledge that was on the building used for the shot so they could properly pad it? Secondly, the shot in which Captain America throws a henchman against a wall was not CGI. They just strung a stuntman by his arms, shoulders, chest, and waist and threw him into a plaster wall. What a living, right? Also in the opening shot, a truck gets rammed into the WHO building in South Africa. You probably thought that was CGI or a miniature reaction, but it was not. They really flipped a truck into a plaster building entrance so that they could crush the entrance with a truck. Seems a tad unnecessary, but it did make for a realistic shot. Another great shot in the film was when Bucky Barnes is forced to jump out of a window onto the adjacent roof, but instead of using CGI to make it work, they just strapped a stunt double into a harness and a cameraman into a harness and literally made them jump out of a window onto the padded ground of a roof. They literally made people jump out of a window for less than 3-second shot. I love the dedication, and it did make for a terrific scene, so I am all in. It seems crazy to think about this film and call it one of the most ambitious films in terms of CGI and behind-the-scenes production, but it really was quite the task to finish this movie. Lastly, Avengers Infinity War has an absolutely insane amount of VFX shots. Avengers Infinity War is obviously one of the best entries in the MCU, finally introducing Thanos to the Avengers. But did you even stop to consider just how daunting of a task it was to bring the Purple Mad Titan to life? He has 40 minutes of screen time in the film, and he looks fantastic in each and every minute. But how did they do it? Actor Josh Brolin wore a motion capture suit for the entirety of the film and would occasionally wear a Thanos helmet on top of his so that other actors would know where to look when addressing Thanos, because he is well over 9 feet tall. Additionally, his suit captured much more than just his body movement. It also captured his facial expressions and his subtle mannerisms so that he could bring Thanos to life as fully as possible. The work put into the movie is truly incredible, and the entire team deserves an award for their efforts. Imagine if Thanos looked like a disgusting CGI mess. Infinity War wouldn't be regarded nearly as highly and would have been a possibly derailing agent for the remainder of the MCU. But luckily, this was not the case, and instead, we were given a fantastic looking CGI masterpiece. That's all we have for you guys today on the channel. Thank you all so much for watching. Which of these films impresses you the most visually? Which of the stunts/CGI works on this list impressed you the most? Is there a movie in the MCU that has more impressive CGI works in your opinion? Let us know in the comment section below. Thank you all once again, and we will see you all in the next video.